A lot has changed over the years. There's something new to learn from every umbral tragedy to every astral age. Countries and civilizations rise and fall, wars raze entire cultures to the ground, and sometimes a prolonged peace makes people complacent and unprepared for sudden change, thus falling into obscurity. But there have been some things that have stood against the test of time and have won. For instance, elegant technology and all of its wonders have somehow miraculously still found a way to function throughout the millennia. More on that in another lesson. However, what if there was a form of timeless history you could carry with you? Secret books filled to the brim with knowledge, along with timeless tomes worth of experience and understanding. That's what it means to be the owner of a soul crystal. Soul crystals, or soul stones as many people like to call them, are crystalline devices that can usually fit comfortably in your palm. Because of the amount of history lost during the Forgotten Age, following the fall of the Allegan Empire, it's not known exactly when the practice of scribing knowledge and information on crystals was started. But as far as the chronology of soul crystals is concerned, the first official soul crystal was created during the height of the Allegan Empire, yet another one of their major advancements. They discovered a way to create a crystal that, when worn close to the skin, has the ability to attune to the aether of the wearer. What made them so revolutionary was that upon carrying a crystal for a long enough time, it would absorb or record the ethereal patterns of the carrier. This would create an imperfect echo or copy of the person inside of it, like capturing someone's silhouette but also their emotions. After being worn in said person's company long enough, it would copy everything of substance, ignoring things that were repeated or redundant. That's because when a soul crystal is created, it's transcribed to record only certain etheric patterns. So, allow me to give you a brief history of well-known soul crystals and their associated disciplines. First are the Summoners, being an art developed by the Allegan Empire itself in the mid to late 3rd Astral era. Their stones are currently the oldest documented. We wouldn't see any historic data on new soul crystals until the 5th Astral era. The civilization of Mach created the stones belonging to black mages. The Society of Amdapor would make the stones of white mages. And then the culture of Nim created their stones for scholars. It's unknown when exactly they were developed in the 5th Astral Age, so these stones are at least 1600 years old or more. Next, we move into the dawn of the 6th Astral Era, which saw a surge of soul crystal production. Within a couple hundred years of this era start, both the Red Mages of Northern Eorzea and the Astrolosians of Sharlayan would make their stones. After them, monks of Alamigo and dragoons of Ishgard first started to use soul crystals during the 6th century. Likewise, the stones belonging to paladins of Thanalan and dark knights of Kurthus were first seen in the 10th century. It's assumed the stones belonging to warriors and samurais were first made around this time as well, but there's no official record, meaning they could be even older than that. Next we see the Bard's crystal formation in the 11th century in the Black Shroud, which finally brings us to the recent advent of Mechanists and Blue Mages, making them the first new soul crystals to be made popular in the 7th Astral Era. If you've noticed that I missed a few disciplines, allow me to explain. I've currently no tested records on crystal development for dancers and gunbreakers, and I am not in the business of taking information from word of mouth. Lastly, there is absolutely no information on when or where ninjas first made their soul crystals. It's like the data on them vanished just like the shinobi themselves, and it's irritating. Though on a positive note, I've heard whispers of possibly new disciplines on people's lips. I'll be sure to do more thorough research on them and bring back my findings to you all. If their professions are brand new, then there are likely going to be an abundance of crystals for me to examine. Likewise, if this profession is old, it might be hard, if not impossible, for me to find any. If one of you does find and attune to one of these soul crystals, seek me out. We'll have much to learn from each other. But I digress. Returning to the topic at hand, you'll find that these crystals are highly sought after by those desiring to push themselves to the forefront of their discipline. Yet, some of you may have also noticed that they're not exactly hard to manufacture either. For instance, mechanists and blue mages have recently created plenty of stones to be used by the myriad of adventurers hoping to make a name for themselves. So why are there groups that are willing to literally kill over the possession of soul crystals? The answer is age. A new soul crystal is like a book with blank pages. It has nothing to give to its carrier, but has everything to learn from them. Likewise, an old soul crystal has the potential to carry hundreds, if not thousands of years worth of knowledge and experience. Comparatively, new soul crystals may be seen as cheap to make, but old soul crystals are literally priceless. So, does that mean that anyone can pick up a soul crystal and suddenly have the knowledge of ancients fill their tiny head until it explodes like a poorly executed Firaga? No, it does not. Old soul crystals are picky. It's hard to explain. They're not exactly a living thing, like the traditional sense of the word, but they also seem to carry a sense of alertness brought on by the thoughts and emotions that have been stored inside of them. So I suppose if you count the copied fragments of those living beings who carried it as alive, then yes, the soul crystal is alive and responds to etheric and emotional stimuli. The most obvious instance of this occurs when someone whose thoughts, feelings, and desires comes to closely mimic the ones stored within a crystal. The crystal somehow knows when it's learned everything it can from someone based on prior experience and can sometimes go dormant. On the other hand, should the crystal sense the presence of someone who resembles the ones that have carried it in the past, it will resonate and try to make that individual its next carrier. So, if you have a soul crystal but it's failing to attune to you, then you need to train yourself diligently and start thinking like the men and women of that practice. Only then will it consider opening up to you. However, the crystals choosing their new holder explains why you don't see many people with malicious intentions or neophytes using soul crystals. Forcing the knowledge out of a soul crystal and into your mind is a dangerous and painful process, and even if you survive that, the knowledge might be incomplete or corrupted. Additionally, a fresh-faced adventurer is unlikely to have a soul crystal, as they probably lack the experience or mindset of someone a crystal would be drawn to. That means that if you just so happen to have one of these stones resonate with you, keep it. Like I said, these things can be picky, so if it has chosen you for whatever reason, keep it safe and listen closely to what knowledge and experience it's ready to give you. If you have a soul crystal, then allow me to explain what you're going to experience with it. An aged crystal has 3 known stages: bestow, observe, record. The first stage is the one most people are after. This is when the soul crystal willingly bestows the knowledge and experience of those previous wielders to you and you alone. People possessing a stone at this stage usually see drastic improvement in their field over a short time, pushing themselves to the front of their discipline and learning in a year or less what would take others decades. This rapid growth is what makes them so valuable and why people fight over them. If the crystal bestows its knowledge to you, you will improve in a way no one can naturally match. Your natural aether pool will deepen, you'll gain new skills and reflexes, and possibly forbidden magic will begin to fill your mind, and much more. Those who get cocky at this stage usually die young, and the stone will fail to move into its next stages, simply waiting for the next person to attune itself to. Based on your discipline, the stones are known to bestow their knowledge in a variety of ways. Too many varieties to cover in this lesson, but if you heed its advice, then you will improve. Once you've learned everything you can reasonably know from a soul crystal, it will move into its second stage, observe. It will passively watch what you do with the skills and knowledge you've gained, seeing what personal twists you add to truly make these powers your own. Eventually, you may want to experiment and try new things with what you've learned, or want to create new spells with this knowledge. This is a natural desire, and the only way to move the soul crystal into its final stage. record. When you're no longer simply mimicking what you've learned, but truly begin expanding on your discipline, the stone will start to record you. It will begin doing what it has been doing for centuries, taking in and copying your etheric patterns. It will start learning from you instead. Any new techniques you develop, any new spell you weave will be recorded for the next carrier to learn from. Your thoughts, feelings, and desires will join those who came before you, adding to the soul crystal and making it that much more valuable. So allow me to say this. If you've owned a soul crystal for most of your life and you sense it attuning to someone new, don't feel discouraged. Know that it has nothing left to give you, and the person your crystal is trying to reach toward is likely a kindred spirit that could learn so much from you and your predecessors. Hand it off to them. Bestow upon them this stockpile of power so that they might learn from your legacy, just as you learned from those who came before you. But until that day comes, explore and experiment, my friends. Be the one who adds the most to your soul crystal in any lifetime, just as I plan on doing to mine. Good day! Thank you for staying to the end of my lesson. It's my hope that you found something new and interesting in between my ramblings. If you did, consider subscribing and liking this video. Doing that is the easiest way to tell me I'm doing a good job at feeding your thirst for knowledge. If there is a topic you'd love to learn more about that I've yet to cover, let me know in the comments and I'll see where my research takes me. I'd also encourage you to share what you learned here with your friends and adventuring companions, and if they're interested, bring them to the next assembly. I hope to see you and any other curious travelers in the next lecture. Till then, stay safe, my friends.